Hey guys, what is going on? Lego Man 123 are back with another video, and welcome back to another Lego news video, where today in this episode we have a lot of 2021 set names from various themes which we have gotten throughout the week. So without further ado, let's get into it. So starting off, we have some Lego Ninjago Legacy sets. The first seem really interesting because they are called Epic Battle sets, and they do include Kai, Jay, Zane, and Cole, and they're only $9.99, which I think is a decent price because it seems to have some sort of theme where they're battling each sort of villain from different series or seasons, because with Kai he's battling like a Skullkin, which might be a reference to like the pilot episodes, and then Jay versus one of like the Serpentine from seasons 1 and 2, Zane versus the Ninjroids from season 3, but then it sort of jumps a bit because it goes from season 3 to season 5 because we have Cole versus a Ghost Warrior. It would have been really interesting to get like an epic battle set, like maybe Lloyd versus maybe like one of the sort of elemental masters, or like maybe Nia versus Klaus. I think that'd be really interesting. So it's really interesting how we're actually getting like some epic battle sets. They might be like really small. You may get like a minifig for like each of them, and then maybe like a small build. But I'm really excited to see what they actually do for that. Then we have the Tournament of Elements. I'm really excited to see what that set is. Could it be very similar to the one we actually got, which was when the season 4 did come out? I'm not too sure when it did come out. Maybe 2014. Could we get a similar set to that with like some of the Elemental Masters? Really excited to see if they're gonna like update the Elemental Masters. Then we have the Boulder Blaster. Not 100% sure on what that set exactly is. Is it a season 4 set or a season 5 set? I'm not 100% sure, but it definitely does sound really interesting. And then the X1 Ninja Charger. I believe that is like the sort of ninja car, like charger thing I actually have in season 4, where it's like some sort of remote sort of set. It's really hard to actually explain. It's like some sort of car, which is like really cool. Excited to see how they do update that. And then we have Zane's Titan Mech Battle. Interested to see what that is, because that might be a season 3 set or a season 4 set. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm excited to see what they do for that. Then we have Jay's Electro Mech. Now, I believe this is the mech he actually does find in the forest when he's actually, or like the jungle when he's in the Tournament of Elements, and like each of these sort of remaining people, because only one can remain, they're sort of in this jungle and they have to sort of go through it, and then Jay does find this sort of electric mech. So excited to see like an updated version of that. Could it be a bit more of a bigger build? But for $19 or $20, it might be a very similar design and sort of shape to the original one. Then we have the big set. We have Ninjago City Gardens. Very excited to see what that set is going to look like. I believe it's going to be an extension onto the Ninjago City and then also Ninjago Dock. So excited to see how they actually do that. Will it be Lego Ninjago movie based with like Lego Ninjago movie characters, or will it be like a Lego Ninjago sort of idea, how they have like the ninja there, Master Wu? Nothing to do with their sort of Ninjago movie appearances. Next, we have some sets for Lego Ninjago Season 14, and we only do have 4 at the moment, but I think these are some really interesting sets. So first we have Lloyd's Jungle Chopper Bike. Very interesting set name there, because like chopper bike, could it be like some sort of bike which is also like some sort of like helicopter thing? So could it have like a propeller and all that, like wings and all that? Very interested to see what that set may be, and it's only like $19 or like $20, so that's really interesting to see that sort of price there. Then we have the Jungle Dragon. Now, very interesting there, because the only way to actually get a dragon in Ninjago is if you're like an elemental master, and there's been a lot of theories that Lloyd may get a new sort of element, which is jungle. So I think that is definitely really interesting. But the only problem I kind of have with that is that there's already like an elemental master which does control nature, so there has to be some sort of like boundary between the jungle and all that, if that does make sense, because like there wouldn't be a elemental master for like energy and then also just like a specific part of a jungle where there's already an elemental master which basically controls all nature. But then the next set is the Keeper's Village. Now that definitely does sound really interesting. Excited to see if it's some sort of like remote sort of village. Is it like all sort of broken down in a way? Is it like sort of hidden? Very interested to see what that is. Then we have the Katamarian. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Sea battle. Now that does sound really epic. I'm excited to see what that will be about. Could it be like some sort of underwater battle, or is it like a battle on top of land where like the Katamari is like on top of land and is like sort of terrorizing the village? That could be really interesting. Then finally we have another LEGO Ninjago Legacy set, and this is the set a lot of people have wanted for a very long time, and that is the Overlord Dragon. I'm so excited to actually have this sort of set being shown, or like the set name being like shown, because when I first saw season, I believe 2, the final battle, I was like, how have LEGO not created a set on the Overlord Dragon, because that thing looked pretty epic. But for $29.99 or $30, I'm interested to see what they do, because Lloyd's Golden Dragon was like $19 or $20, and that was a pretty okay build, but the original one was a lot more better, and it's basically like double the price of Lloyd's, where we have the Overlord Dragon at $29.99. So could it be a bit more of a bigger dragon with like the sort of scale for the head being pretty big? And I'm also interested to see, could we just get the dragon, the Overlord Dragon, or could we get like maybe a new version of Lloyd in his sort of golden armor or like suit? Could he possibly maybe get some like Stone Warriors, or even maybe some like new legacy versions of Season 2 sort of ninjas? Next we have some LEGO Harry Potter news, and first we have some interesting things called textbooks, and these are represented in each of the Harry Potter or Hogwarts houses. We have Gryffindor, Slytherin, Hufflepuff, and Ravenclaw, and they each have a different sort of idea to them. For Gryffindor, it's transformation, and then for Slytherin, it's potions, Hufflepuff, it's herbology, and then Ravenclaw, it's magic arts. I'm really excited to see what they actually are. Could it be similar to the Disney ones we actually got, where we're getting like that really cool book with a really great print on like the sort of oval shaped sort of tile, and then inside it's a small build, and then with like sort of squished up like minifigs with like they're really small and all that. Interested to see if they actually do that, or could they be actually minifigs, and then like inside of the book like you can fold it in and out and all that, like with the sort of idea with the sort of storybooks they had where like as you open it, it sort of like pops out. That could be really interesting to see that happen. And then that is for each of the Hogwarts houses, so some nice colouring there for like red, green, and then sort of maybe yellow, and then maybe blue. So interested with that. And then we have the Harry Potter Hogwarts crest, and that does sound really cool. Getting like a really nice Hogwarts crest, because the design is a really interesting shape, and I'm excited to see how LEGO actually do that sort of shape, because it's a sort of oval shape, and most LEGO bricks are sort of like square and all that, so it's going to be hard to see how they do that. And then, like, they're going to have each section dedicated to one of the Hogwarts houses, so that is definitely going to be really cool to see. Next, we have some leaked names for some LEGO City sets for 2021 from sets 60275 to 60304. Those are mostly all the LEGO City sets, so some interesting ones here, like the police helicopter for $9.99. That might be a juniors set, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm excited to see if they have like a small helicopter like the ones they do for like the sort of police stations and all that. And then the police prisoner transport definitely does sound really interesting as well. A lot of these do sound like sort of past city sets, what we've gotten in the past, so it's really interesting to see how they've actually gone back to this. What does sound really interesting to me though is the vacation motorhome, because we did get a sort of motorhome in an actual Jurassic Park set. It's like a small sort of silver build, and it is a vacation motorhome in a way, so interested to see like the sort of LEGO City sort of idea on that. And then we have a construction site truck we have gotten construction site sets in the past, so interested to see that sort of a more modern feel to it. And I'm also interested to see, could all these sets actually be a tie-in into the Lego City Adventures TV show? Really sort of excited to see how they actually do that, because there is definitely a lot they could do. And then another one what stands out to me is the skate park. We did get a Lego Creator 3-in-1 sort of skate modular park sort of thing, so interested to see how they actually do that. Could it be like a location in the Lego City Adventures TV show? And then the roads crossing with traffic lights, it might be like a sort of polybag, like a really big polybag, or like a sort of a set in a way, I'm not too sure on that. And then like beach rescue quad, that does sound like a sort of junior set. And then the mobile fire brigade control center, that does sound really interesting for $49.99. And then the Crooks Hideout definitely does sound like a really cool set as well, because I believe the last Crooks Hideout we got was the Swamp Police, I believe, but it might be a little more later. But really interested to see a sort of more modern feel on a sort of not a police, a Crooks Hideout. But all these sets, in my opinion, might be a tie-in into the Lego City Adventures TV show, but we just have to wait and see. Next, we have some Lego Super Mario. Now, we don't have the set names for the actual sets, but we do have the set sort of numbers, and then also the prices. So for $60 we have set 71380. Now at $60 it kind of sounds like, or sort of looks like, that we might be getting another sort of starter pack, because the Mario one is roughly around, I think it's like $59.99, so at least $60. So we might be getting like a Luigi one, which is definitely really interesting. And then for $20 we have set 71381. Now that might be a sort of a small set as well, possibly maybe like the, I'm trying to think what Mario says 20. I'm not 100% sure on what sets are for $20, but it might be a sort of a small battle between maybe like Luigi and maybe some enemies, what he does face. And then 30, it might be a bit more of a bigger sort of battle between Luigi and some goons. And then 40, maybe like a castle battle, maybe, I'm not too sure on that. And then for $10, it might be, for $10, did we get any Mario sets for $10 in the first wave? I don't think we did, but we may have. It might be a sort of a small battle, and then another one for $10, and then for $5, the only thing I can think of which was $5 were the Lego Super Mario blind bags, so we might be getting a Series 2, which is definitely really exciting. I'm very excited to see what all these sets will be, especially the $60 one, because that might be a starter pack for Luigi. Now we move into some Star Wars news, and starting off, we have the Millennium Falcon Microfighter, which is set 75295. Now, interested to see what they actually do for this Millennium Falcon Microfighter, because I believe we got a version of the Millennium Falcon as a microfighter, maybe this year or the year before. I'm not too sure on what that Pacific Millennium Falcon is from, but could we possibly be getting an updated version, maybe from the Rise of Skywalker, or possibly maybe a micro fighter of the Han Solo version of the Millennium Falcon? So interested to see what they actually do there. Next, we just have a set titled the Micro Fighter. Now, interested to see what they do for this as well, because could we be getting an updated version of like an X-Wing, a Y-Wing, like one of those Tatooine ones? So possibly maybe that could happen, or we could get like a whole new microfighter build. So interested to see what they do there. Next we have the Tauntaun, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, sorry if I am not. And then the AT-AT microfighter, and this is like a battle between both of them, so it's like two microfighters in the one set, so that is definitely really interesting. I believe the Tauntaun is either that sort of Yeti monster which is on Hoth, which does attack, I believe, Luke Skywalker, or it's like the that sort of a creature, almost like Yak sort of inspired, where it is on Tatooine. I'm not 100% sure which one it is, but it's interesting to see how they're actually going to make that into a micro fighter. And then the AT-AT, that's going to be also really interesting to see how they do that. Then we have the Resistance X-Wing, and this is a 4+ set. Now, interested to see this because I believe we got the X-Wing last year, which was a 4+ set, or that may have been a Y-Wing. So I'm excited to see how they actually make the Resistance X-Wing into a 4+ set. Like, could it have the same sort of color scheme of like a green color? Then we have the Mandalorian Hero Vehicle. Now that definitely does sound like a really interesting set, because could it be a set for possibly maybe season 2 of the Mandalorian? But that may not be correct, because like they've sort of been keeping season 2 of the Mandalorian like a secret, and these set names actually came out before the trailer for the Mandalorian season 2 actually came out. So could this be just a Lego set for Star Wars, because we did get the Mandalorian Battle Pack? Could this also be something to do with the Mandalorians, with like the 4 we actually did get? But Hero Vehicle definitely does sound real interesting, because could it be some sort of transportation for them? Like they have a weapons room, a sort of sleeping quarters, a communications area. So definitely really interesting. And for $29.99, that is definitely a pretty interesting price, because it doesn't sound too expensive, and I really hope at this price they just don't have a lazy set, because possibly maybe at $29.99 it may not be as good as like at maybe possibly $49.99. We'll just have to wait and see. Next we have the TIE Fighter, and interesting because could this be another updated version of it from possibly maybe the Rise of Skywalker, or could it be a whole new version of a TIE Fighter, possibly maybe from maybe like the Rise of Skywalker maybe, or the Return of the Jedi, or even possibly maybe I believe A New Hope. Then we have the X-Wing Red 5. Now I'm not too sure what the Red 5 is. It might be something from the Clone Wars, but I don't think I'm correct on that. It might be something from the Rise of Skywalker, so it's interesting to see what they actually do there. Then we have the Imperial Shuttle. Now I'm excited to see if this is going to be a New Hope one, like the original trilogy, or is it going to be the sort of new trilogy. So excited to see what they do there, because could it be like a similar set to the one we got this year with like Kylo Ren? I believe that was an Imperial Shuttle. Or could it be one with Darth Vader with like the sort of Stormtroopers? Then we have the Ultimate Collector's Series set, and I believe this is the Mos Eisley set, but I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm pretty sure it is. Now that is definitely a really great set. It has a really nice build, and for $199.99, I think that is definitely a really reasonable price, because I believe there's like at least 15 minifigs. The build is definitely great, some great part usage, the design for it, just the amount of detail inside and out definitely does look really great. Then we have the Darth Vader helmet for $69.99, and I believe this is similar to the Darth Vader bust we got quite a while ago, but it might be a bit more of a bigger version of like just his helmet, so nothing to do with like his sort of buttons on his torso and all that, because it may have something to do just with like his helmet, so like from maybe his neck up to like the sort of helmet design and all that. Really interested to see what they do for that, because at $69.99, it definitely does sound like something pretty cool with like a lot of detail, the design, the shaping of it. Then we have another helmet, which is the Scout Trooper. Interested to see what they do with that, because like the sort of goggle-like design with where their eyes should be, it has a really interesting design, because it sort of like comes out in a way, and I really hope they don't make the same mistake they did with the Stormtrooper helmet, because it did look a little off. And I believe a lot of people actually did agree with that. Something just really didn't look right about it. So I really hope they do get that shaping correctly, because that definitely would look like something pretty challenging to do with Lego. Then we have the Imperial Prompt Droid. I believe that might be Prompt Droid. I was thinking Gonk Droid, but no, it's Prompt Droid. I'm not 100% sure on what that is, but that definitely does sound really interesting for $69.99 because I believe we may have seen it in the Lego Boost set with like R2D2, the Gonk Droid, and then possibly maybe that droid, but I'm not 100% sure. It may be something we haven't actually seen before, and I really hope it has a lot of detail and like the design is definitely great because for $69.99, hopefully it may be like a decent size as well because I think that pricing is a little expensive. Next up, we have some DC news, and we only do have two sets. The first one being Batman and Joker vehicles, and that is for $29.99. So interested to see what that could be because it could be a similar set to the one we actually did get this year with the Joker, Harley Quinn, Robin, and then Batman. So could it be a similar version of that, like a Batmobile and then like Joker with his sort of wacky and crazy sort of vehicle? So interested with that. Could we also be getting maybe like another Robin or a Harley Quinn, or even possibly another villain with Joker, maybe like Penguin or like Poison Ivy? And then with Batman, could we be getting like maybe Aquaman, maybe like another sort of hero on Batman's side? So interested to see what that could be, but it may just be Batman and Joker. Then finally for DC news, we do have the Batman cowl, and I believe that's like the sort of helmet and head of Batman. Really exciting to actually hear that because I'm excited to see what version of Batman they would choose. Will they choose like the sort of original Batman with like the sort of bluish color? Will they go for like maybe like the Dark Knight with like a blackish blue, dark blue color? Could they possibly go for something in between that? So very interested to see what sort of Batman cowl they do choose, but also interested to see how they actually do design it because like the design is definitely really interesting for Batman's like helmet and all that with like the sort of I don't want to say pointy ears, but I'm just gonna say like points at the top with like almost like bat ears. I think that's what they're called at the top. How are they gonna design that? Are they gonna do like snot technique? Are they gonna like smooth it out? So a lot of different things may possibly happen with Batman's cowl, and for $59.99, I think that might be definitely a great price because it might be a very similar size to the Star Wars ones we actually did get, I believe, this year, which were the the Boba Fett one and then the Stormtrooper one, I believe it was. Yeah, I believe it was the Stormtrooper. So interested to see if they have a similar, or the Batman one has a similar size to that one, or to those ones. And finally, for today's LEGO News episode, we have some Marvel set names for 2021. Starting off, we have Captain America and Thor for $10. And I believe these might be the sort of mechs we did get for Spider-Man, Iron Man, and Thanos, but Captain America and Thor design. So interested to see how they actually do design Captain America's and Thor's, because Captain America may have a sort of comic book design with these sort of bluish color he does have, or he might go for like a dark blue color like in the movies, in like the Winter Soldier or something. And then Thor, could they go for possibly, what sort of color would they go for him though? He really doesn't have a sort of dedicated color, maybe like a silver color because of his hammer million, I'm gonna stuff up the name, million, I'm so sorry guys, his hammer he does have. Could they go for that sort of color, or could they go for maybe like a yellow color? But yeah, that's interesting. What sort of color would they go for him? But I'm interested to see what character they actually do make for Thor, because could they go for the ones in the sets we've actually gotten for maybe possibly the Marvel game what didn't come out too long ago, or could they go for more of a comic book version of Thor? And then the Iron Man vs Thanos for $20. Now that is the Iron Man and Thanos mech actually combined to have this really cool battle. Now I really hope they just don't go straight back to the Iron Man and Thanos ones they actually did create and just combine them in a set. I really hope they sort of update it in a way. Maybe have like a battle damaged Iron Man mech. That could be really interesting. And then with the Thanos one, they could possibly maybe have an updated version of that. Because I really hope they just don't get one and just I hope they don't get both of the sets and just combine it and say it's a new set. And then we have one for Miles Morales. Now that is definitely really interesting because I'm excited to see how that actually will go, because they may have like a black color because he's like the sort of black and red sort of Spider-Man, so that is definitely really interesting. And also, that is definitely a great minifig to get in such a cheap set. Then we have the Spider-Man buggy for $10. Now, once again, I don't see the point in Spider-Man having any sort of vehicle or anything, because he could just very easily like sort of web away and all that. But I'm interested to see how they actually do the buggy, because for $10 that does sound like a pretty interesting set to get Spider-Man and a really sort of spider vehicle buggy. So I'm interested to see what they do. And then we have the Ghost Rider car, and I believe the only set where we've actually got Ghost Rider is one where we got Ghost Rider, and then I think he's Hobgoblin, I believe, and then I think they were the only two minifigs. There might have been one more, and then like some sort of build for his motorbike, and then some city build or like small sort of landscaping. So interested to see if we get an updated version of the Ghost Rider. And then the car, interested to see, because I think he only does drive a motorbike, so it's gonna be cool to see some sort of like demonized, I don't think that's word, or some sort of like Ghost Rider car in a way with like sort of flames everywhere. So interested with that. Then we have the Spider-Man monster truck. That name does sound pretty epic, but once again, why does Spider-Man need a monster truck where he can very easily just web away? But it does sound a pretty epic monster truck. Could it be a monster truck not actually for Spider-Man, but could it be like a sort of monster truck which is like sort of sponsored by Spider-Man in a way? Could it be a sort of Spider-Man monster truck where Spider-Man isn't actually included, but they might include him, and it's like some sort of monster truck for like minifigs in a way. So interested how they do that. And then we have the Spider-Man hideout. Now I'm not sure if this set is a Spider-Man hideout for actually Spider-Man, or it might be a Spider-Man hideout but actually for villains. So that is really interesting, because it's going to be cool to see a Spider-Man hideout for Spider-Man, or it's going to be really exciting to see some sort of Spider-Man hideout for villains, because both do sound really interesting and both do sound like they can have some really great stuff included. And then finally, we do have the Carnage helmet. Now, very interesting to see how they actually do that, because he does have a round sort of shape as like a human sort of face and all that. So interested to see how they do that, especially with like the eyes and the mouth, because it does have a pretty creepy smile and then some big white eyes. So interested to see how they do that. And the eyes have a very specific sort of shaping to them. So interested to see how they do that. So hope you guys did enjoy this LEGO news video as much as I did making it, because wow, we had a lot of 2021 set names leaked over the past week. I really didn't expect that many set names from various themes to actually be leaked. So I'm very excited to actually see all these names, because there was definitely some great names and also some prices for those sets, because with the Mario ones especially, we really didn't have any names, but you could tell with some of the prices matching up to the first wave of Mario sets that there may be some duplicates. So very interesting with that. And also the ones with names, they definitely do sound really exciting to actually sort of see images for, and also really exciting with their names. So I'm definitely excited to see set images once they do come out. So I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below on everything I did share for today's episode. And as always, guys, hope you guys did enjoy this video, and I can see you soon. Goodbye!